Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm KROOF, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my first impressions for the Thief Elite specialization, the Specter. Gotta say, first and foremost, as a general review, I love this direction they're going in with healing and support, particularly for Specter, and I've enjoyed it so much that I really wish they go back once again and retouch up other elite specs and skills in general, such as Druid. But along with my intense love for this and interest in this new method of healing and support, I have to be very transparent and call out the bugs, the bugginess, and certain disappointments that I've had with the first impressions. But as a whole, I would still say that Specter is probably in the top 3 of my favorite elite specs. So let's talk about the Profession Mechanic. The Profession Mechanic feels very nice. However, it's challenging to gain Shadow Force if you're going that full support route. Shroud does feel a little weak. It's like a mix of Druid, Celestial Avatar, and also Death Shroud, but it doesn't really fulfill either one to its greatest potential. It feels like a weird middle of the road area. So what I would like to see is easier Shadow Force generation on support skills. Maybe if you can give Barrier, you gain like 2% of it or like 5% of it in Shadow Force. I'm not exactly sure, but maybe adding a couple more skills and a little bit more application with Shadow Force. Perhaps if you res an ally, you gain some Shadow Force. You gain 10% Shadow Force, similar to like how Necromancer, if you kill an enemy, you gain Life Force. You can have the opposite with this. Siphon, the F1, which replaces Steel, is also now really weird to use, as it still continues to require a path to target, but you're not teleporting or shadow stepping to them, you're just using a spell. So I think this is like really ingrained coding that they need to get rid of, because you'll be fully just looking at a target and there'll be like a rock, like just elevated, just it'll be a pebble, and it'll be like no valid path to target, and you're like, I'm not doing any, I just have to hit them, like I can see them, there's no line of sight, like I can see them. So it's really weird. So would really recommend taking a second look at that. Now, let's talk about, I guess, the Scepter. I really enjoy the Scepter. It's cool. It's very single target focused, and it's pretty strong. Maybe even a little too strong. I definitely could see some minor nerfs in PvE, but in PvP, I think it's pretty safe to say that it is okay, because you are only focusing on one target at a time. The barrier in PvP already is much lower. I honestly think the barrier application in PvP, that stat should pretty much be the PvE stat for the auto attack, considering that the auto attack is so consistent and doesn't require any initiative. Wells. I really enjoy the wells. The wells are cool. I think the well of tears, I believe, it's the one that damages. It's extremely weak. Like it hits like a paper towel. It needs a definite power increase. But other than that, I do really enjoy the wells. The shadow steps are nice. However, I don't love that the healing skill is also a shadow step. I think it bloats a couple supportive traits and makes it maybe a little bit too easy to get use out of the doubling up of shadow stepping heals. And additionally, when using a healing skill, if you want to heal allies, you're putting yourself in an extremely dangerous situation. So if I had to choose one well to lose its shadow step, it would be the healing well. I'd much rather have the ability to cast the well from a distance and start to do minor healing in an area for my allies, rather than getting myself in a very sticky situation and being unable to port out because of the cast times. Now, let's talk about some of the issues. Targeting. Oh my. Targeting needs a lot of updates. It needs updates for hotkeys to allow targets to allow the player to target the lowest health ally. I don't think we need target the closest range ally. It really should just be target the lowest health ally and then cycle through your normal ally targeting hotkey that's already in the game. The one thing about the ally targeting hotkey is that it currently targets AI clones, AI pets, minions, mechs. It targets minis and also sometimes interactable yellow objects. Yeah, no, that needs to go. That needs to go immediately. They are of practically no use to single target healing, particularly for the Specter, because you want to focus on player allies. And I imagine in the future, if they continue to go down this road, you're not really going to need to target any pets or mesmer clones or minions to directly heal. They are often seen as fodder and are either self-reliant and self-manageable by the player, or they just are kind of meant to be squishy. So I really think that the target ally should just be target ally. It creates a really difficult time. It's already difficult to use that to cycle through an ally to get to the ally that you want. But now that it's going through minis, interactable objects, clones, minions, it becomes nearly impossible to actually use this for its intended function. So that definitely needs to change. In addition to the targeting system, I want to talk about action camera and action combat. Action camera mode, I feel, now I don't know for certain, so I'm not going to use an absolute, but it feels like they never even activated action camera and tested out these abilities while using action camera mode. Because this Scepter 3, some of the Scepter 3 skills, like the Scepter Pistol skill 3, straight up would not work. Like it would say you needed a target to activate it, and you would have a target focused and a target selected, and it just wouldn't work. But as soon as you turned off action camera, it would work. In addition to like the very obvious bugs and just necessity to update this. The bubble for the enemy targeting on the right click is extremely generous and extremely large, to the point where if you're in action camera mode and you're trying to select a melee target that is close to the enemy, you literally cannot, because the way that it seems action camera is coded is that it highly prioritizes enemies, giving you a really large window of opportunity and area to select an enemy. But now with single target healing, if I want to play action camera and also target allies, I genuinely cannot do that. So action camera definitely needs a really good look in, as well as the normal targeting system. If you are in action camera mode or not action camera mode, I just want to reiterate that if you have a target selected, if you have an ally target selected, all of your abilities should be focusing on them. Because currently, if you're in action camera, if you have an ally selected, but they go into melee range and you start trying to use your auto attack, if you're positioned even, off an angle by 1 degree, your abilities will start to focus on the enemy, because action camera, once again, has been hard-coded to prioritize enemies, which doesn't feel great, because you literally will have an ally targeted, not that you have an enemy targeted and you're trying to swap. You will already have that ally, but if they go anywhere near any enemy, your projectiles will straight up magnetize to a foe. So that really needs to look at, and that is pretty much all of my major issues. A lot of my issues with this specialization don't really fall on the spec itself, other than maybe the Shadow Force generation, maybe a couple bugs with the traits, just, nerfing of some things, tuning, etc., etc. My biggest issues are with the targeting. Even allowing us to unlock the player health bars and the squad and the party health bars, that would be incredibly beneficial. Also, going into the squad UI and the squad party health bars, they are not able to be customized in any way. So it's entirely random. Players themselves have to move themselves around to reorder things. And for healing, it doesn't feel great, because if there is a boss fight that just so happens to require a tank, because endgame is not consistent, but if there happens to be a situation where you have a tank, the tank could literally be in the middle of the party window, or directly off center to the left. It could be the 5th one, it could be the 7th one. And it's sometimes not the most reliable or the best feeling. So a lot of these things need to be looked at, and it does kind of sadden me that they decided, you would imagine that if you decide to focus on something in an area of the game that is so new, such as single healing and single target skills, that you would take the time to further develop these systems of targeting. There might have been a couple adjustments and a couple improvements, but it still feels woefully unplayable in group content and in PvP. It can get by, but you can't play in action camera mode, and you really have to just be focusing on players. But I think if you add a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more love to it, you can now start to react better to where you're targeting allies and able to swap back to enemies a bit more easily, and then swap back to a low health ally to start bolstering them up. So I think a lot of these issues just fall in that aspect. But overall, Specter, really, really interesting. Really love it. I played it in raids and it was a lot of fun. Played it in strike missions, a lot of fun. And I've also been playing it in PvP, and surprisingly, I truly, truly love it. So thank you everyone so much for coming to this video. Comment down below your thoughts and experiences with the Specter so far, the healing, the single target, the targeting, the issues, whatever you have, comment down below and I will try to get back to you. So once again, subscribe, comment below, like, share. If you would like to pre-order End of Dragons, I have links down below, and if you'd like to get early access to videos, you can help me out on the Patreon. Thank you everyone so much, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye-bye.